Welcome back to the Disturbed Chronicles. My name's Cams, and I'm glad you're here. And if this is your first time watching, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any of my future videos. Today's video, we're going to talk about the murder of Savannah Spurlock, and that happened back in 2019. Savannah was a 22-year-old mother of four, and she was born and raised in Kentucky. She was reported missing on January 4th, 2019, after going out for the first time since having newborn twin boys. Savannah was born on February 5th, 1996 in Richmond, Kentucky. She had a very close-knit family and a younger sister named Stephanie. Stephanie was actually much younger than her sister Savannah. They actually had a 10-year age gap, which is pretty large, but they were still very close, even though they had such a big age difference. Savannah was described as a very energetic child, and she loved to dance. She was actually a part of the dance team in middle school and throughout high school. Savannah did attend college briefly, and she worked in various positions like lifeguarding and in the restaurant industry. Savannah reflected a hardworking and caring personality. She became a mother to her first son, Noah, at the age of 19, which is very young to have your first child. And she had another son named Jace soon after in 2016. At this time, it became very difficult for Savannah to continue school having two young children, and she does drop out, but she does plan on going back in the future and finishing college. Savannah was a single mother of two at a very young age, and it's suggested that she may have been struggling financially, which is very understandable for a young single mother with two children. Savannah actually had a fallout with her father, Cecil, and this was over her lifestyle choices. He was disappointed in his daughter Savannah because she still went out to bars and was drinking and partying, and he felt that she wasn't a dedicated mother. But Savannah was very young still, and she was still trying to live this lifestyle and enjoy her youth, being the fact that she was only like 20 years old. And it is stated that Savannah was a very good mother to her children, from what all of her friends and family have said about her. But Savannah's mother and father were divorced, and her father actually stopped helping Savannah financially. And this was due to the fallout that Savannah and her father Cecil had. In December of 2018, Savannah had her twin boys, Zane and Zuri, and Savannah is now 22 years old, a single mother of four boys. Savannah actually received a DUI shortly after giving birth to her twin boys, and she was also charged with possession of marijuana and paraphernalia. Some of this could support the claims that Savannah did not have full custody of her children. Specifically, her mother stated that shortly before her disappearance, she did not have custody of her twin boys, which is likely related to her drug charges and her DUI. Savannah had three boys with one man, and those three children were primarily with the father, Shaq. So at this point, Savannah seems like she's really going through it. Her and her boyfriend, Shaq, have broken up, and now she is back living with her mother, Ellen, and Savannah did have a court appearance scheduled for her DUI on January 7th, 2019. But a couple days before that, on January 4th, Savannah is home with her mother and one of her children. The other three children are with their father, Shaq. So Savannah only has one of her children with her, and her mother decides that she will watch her son while Savannah goes out with a couple of friends. Savannah gets invited to go out, and she hasn't been out in a while, so she felt like she deserved a night off, and mothers do deserve a night off sometimes. And just to clarify, none of the things that I'm saying is in any way to badmouth Savannah or make her look bad. It's just the facts. So Savannah borrows her mother's car and she visits a bar in Lexington, Kentucky around 10:30 p.m. on January 4th. Savannah meets up with two other friends, a guy and a girl, but shortly after the two friends arrived, one of them actually leaves early because Savannah reportedly had a disagreement with this friend, and that did result in the friend leaving early. It wasn't like anything violent or physical. It was just a little disagreement, and this friend just decided that it was better off if they left. The other friend actually leaves early too because they had to wake up early the next morning, which leaves Savannah alone at this bar by herself. And at some point, Savannah ends up meeting up with 3 other guys. Savannah is seen on surveillance footage from this bar around 2:30 a.m. leaving with 3 men, and one of those men is the murderer. This is actually the last time that Savannah would ever be seen alive. Savannah calls her mom around this time and tells her that she's fine and that she would be home soon. But she allegedly was invited back to David Sparks' home, which was one of the 3 men that she left the bar with. And Savannah's mother became worried after a short period of time of not hearing from Savannah. So she tries to call her daughter and Savannah doesn't answer the phone. Savannah was missing, and the last known tracking of her was her phone being turned off around 8:30 a.m. the next morning. Reports say that David Sparks is the last person to see Savannah alive. The next morning on January 5th, Savannah's mother, Ellen, files a missing persons report for her daughter, Savannah. And the police start to search several of the surrounding counties, Madison, Lincoln, Fayette counties, all around. And they search in the lakes, they search landfills, they search burn piles, barns, all over the place, anywhere they think that they might find Savannah.
Whew, I don't know if I can keep on going and not knowing what happened to my little girl. He just got to know something. It's killing me, man. It is. It's taking a toll off me.
On January 8th, the police finally get their hands on the surveillance footage of Savannah leaving the bar that night that she went missing. So they tracked down these 3 men that Savannah left with, and they were interviewed and questioned about what happened that night.
3 men involved in this. 3 men. Somebody knows something. Somebody, they'll mess up sooner or later. We'll find out what happened to her.
2 of the men did confirm that they all went back to David Sparks' home, and they stated that Savannah was alive, although she was impaired and drifting in and out of consciousness. She was alive. But 2 of these men stated that they saw David behave inappropriately with Savannah while she was in this incoherent state. One of these men said that David Sparks was a little weird and kind of unorthodox.
He hurt that girl.
Yeah.
Would he tell you?
Yeah, I feel like he eventually would.
Have you asked him that yet?
Yeah. I asked him. He been adamant that he don't know nothing. That's why I asked him, like, bro, you need to be 100% like on point, because this is with us all. Like I told him at the end of the day, bro, like we left at your house, bro. You know what I'm saying? Me and left. So whatever happened after that, you need to go ahead and man up and say what need to be said.
David initially said that Savannah fell asleep at his house in his bed, and he went and slept on the couch. David stated that Savannah woke up and she was wondering where she was, like she was expecting somebody to come pick her up. So he gave Savannah the address for his location and then went back to sleep. David said when he woke again, Savannah was gone, and during his questioning, he was actually asked if he thought that Savannah had been harmed. And David replied, "Yes, I hope she's all right."
Has it crossed your mind that she may not be alive?
That has crossed my mind, but I hope she's all right.
David was 23 years old, and he had no background of mental illness or any diagnosis to be considered. The Richmond police sergeant actually described David as stone cold during the questioning. It stated that he seemed like he was prepared to lie, and his calmness was very unsettling.
Prepared, I think, to kind of play the game.
Richmond Police Sergeant Kelly Fraze never bought his story that Spurlock left on her own.
There was something about him that just kind of made the hair on the back of your neck stand up when you talked to him.
So immediately after questioning David Sparks, the police arranged for search warrants of David's rental property and his parents' home. The police did search both of these locations thoroughly, but they somehow missed some key evidence that was left behind, and for months this case went unsolved. Around April 2019, the police would do another search of both of these homes, but this time they would use chemical enhancement to detect hidden bloodstains, which leads them to actually finding blood, and this blood was tested for DNA, and that blood was a match for Savannah. They found her blood inside David's closet, and they could tell that the carpet and the flooring had recently been replaced, which was very suspicious. And this also contradicted his statement that Savannah left his home alive and well, because why would her blood be in your closet if she left on her own? The police also recovered incriminating texts to David's sister about a rug. He asked his sister where she got this rug from, and on January 4th, David is caught on surveillance footage at a local store purchasing a rug, gloves, and cleaning supplies. So on the evening of July 10th, David's father actually calls the police to report a strong foul odor coming from their property. They lived on this big farm, and he thought that the smell was very odd, so he reports it to the police. Later that night, when the police are searching, they finally uncover a body, and this body would be the body of Savannah Spurlock. Savannah's body was buried in a 19-inch shallow grave, wrapped up inside of this rug that was an identical match to the rug that David Sparks purchased on January 4th. She was naked, and her body was wrapped up in trash bags, and her arms and legs were bound by duct tape. David was arrested and charged with trespassing, corpse abuse, tampering with evidence, and the murder charges followed later on in August after further investigation. It took the police 6 months to find Savannah's body, and she had an advanced state of decomposition because of this. So when they did the autopsy on Savannah, they couldn't determine the actual cause of her death. And unfortunately, David has never stated what happened that night or what he did to Savannah. His statement was actually very short. He said Savannah died in his home and he did not contact authorities. Instead, he moved her body and he buried her on his parents' property. David did state that he was not guilty, and he would later change this plea. His trial was just about to be set in December of 2020, but David, for some reason, has a change of heart and decides that he's going to plead guilty to all of these charges. This helped him actually avoid trial completely, and it made it so he didn't have to specify what actually happened to Savannah that night. And he also avoided the death penalty and a life sentence by doing this. On December 17th, 2020, David Sparks was sentenced to 50 years in prison with eligibility of parole after 20 years. He is expected to be incarcerated until 2040, but David never spoke about what he did to Savannah. Until this day, we don't have any actual proof or evidence of what happened on that horrific night. Now, it is suspected that Savannah did face some type of sexual abuse, considering her body was found completely naked. She didn't just become naked on her own, but it's not 100% certain. The police did find a letter that David Sparks wrote back in 2017, and it was a very disturbing letter. It was very violent and aggressive. But later, David does dismiss this as just being angry and depressed at the time. I think David chose to take that guilty plea like he did, and it was a strategic motive. He wanted to save himself from a lengthy, detailed trial and the life sentence or death penalty. Savannah's ex, Shaq, the father of her 3 boys, said that some of her family and friends were happy with the outcome and the fact that David is finally being put behind bars for the murder. But for Shaq, he didn't believe that justice was served. Savannah still did get some justice because her murderer was put behind bars and his life will never be the same, but he will be eligible for parole around 2040. And that doesn't mean that he will get the parole, but he will be in his late 40s at that time, so it's understandable why Shaq feels the way that he does about the outcome. He could still live somewhat of a life if he does get out on parole within the next 15 years. So that is a little unsettling. It's not something that you want, being the fact that he took somebody's life. Some people think, why do you get to live your life still? It should be a life for a life. But I want to hear what you guys think about this story. Do you think justice was served? Do you think that he shouldn't be allowed parole? Make sure you drop a comment below and you let me know. And hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. We've made it to 167 subscribers, guys, and I appreciate every single one of you. Thank you for watching, and as always, I hope to see you on the next disturbing video.